Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Ryan Gelman, and I'm the Director of Public Policy and Advocacy at the National Community Action Partnership. This webinar, Community Action and Financial Empowerment at Tax Time, is meant to give a little bit of background on resources and outreach for tax assistance. Tax season just started a couple of days ago. Um, we are joined by friends from Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and also Prosperity Now, and also the city of Louisville. Just going to say a few words at the top and we'll get started. Also, for everyone's edification, this is being recorded, so it's going to be up on the website and you'll receive it in an email as well, along with the slides. So as we always do, we like to start every webinar with the promise of community action. Community action changes people's lives, embodies the spirit of hope, improves communities, and makes America a better place to live. We care about the entire community, and we are dedicated to helping people help themselves and each other. Next slide. So today's objectives are listed here. I just wanted to say, sort of at the top, just to get us situated in this topic. As many folks on this webinar probably know, tax credits, and especially refundable tax credits, are an extremely powerful and effective anti-poverty tool. Really don't need to look any further than the expanded child tax credit that was included in the American Rescue Plan Act, reduced child poverty in this country by 50%. But that was only in effect for the year 2021. So after it ended, we saw a spike again in child poverty. But now, even without that expanded child tax credit, there's always two issues as far as like the way I see it with tax credits. So there's outreach and then also assistance. So it's like knowing the tax credits exist and then also helping folks understand the ins and outs of the tax credits in the tax code and other parts of the tax code that could be helpful while they're filing, and getting folks resources and assistance to help them file their taxes. So just first, tax credits aren't self-executing. They don't happen automatically. People have to know to use them. And then, like I say, even if a customer knows about the tax credit and they're entitled to it, the UX tax code is complex. I'm a lawyer and I don't understand it. So I'm happy to have some experts here on the call. So in addition to awareness, folks also need resources and assistance to ensure that they're getting all the tax benefits that they're entitled to under the law. The other point I wanted to note is that community action agencies have a crucial role to play in connecting customers to both outreach and resources on tax issues. Over a third, I think more than 350 CAAs across the country run a volunteer income tax assistance or VITA site. And they're more steeped in these issues, but all CAAs are community hubs that understand how to perform effective outreach that connects people with resources. As a result, as you can see, these are the objectives for the webinar. So essentially we have like outreach and then connect folks to assistance and resources, and then field tested strategies. We're going to hear from a CAA that has implemented some successful strategies. Next slide, please. This is the agenda that we're going to walk through, using IRS data to understand free tax assistance options, resources for getting the word out, financial empowerment by CAAs, and getting your community more involved. Next slide. So I'm just going to give each of our presenters an opportunity to introduce themselves in this order, and then I'll take over again, and we'll start with Irene, and we'll do her presentation. So I'm just going to ask Irene and then C and then JC to introduce yourselves.
Great. Thank you so much. Irene Skricky. I'm actually now a policy analyst, having switched jobs a little bit ago. But I'm with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is probably most of you know is a federal bank regulator that's focused on consumer protection. And I work on our tax time initiative. So I'm very happy to be here today.
Hi, everyone. My name is C. Garrison. I am with Louisville Metro Government in Louisville, Kentucky. We are a public community action agency within the Office of Resilience and Community Services, and I supervise our Financial Empowerment Center.
I'm JC Craig. I am a consultant to the CFPB for the Tax Time Initiative work. And I'm very excited to be here. Also, we have our special guest, Graham, who kind of jumped in at the last minute for us, and I want to thank him and give him a chance to introduce himself.
Hey everyone, this is Graham O'Neill with Prosperity Now, where I'm the tax policy strategist. And so there I get to work on our Taxpayer Opportunity Network, which is, as many of you know, is a network of about 11,000 individuals, everywhere from VITA providers, VITA volunteers, TCE providers and volunteers, to stakeholders in national organizations, regional and local organizations that all work together to promote a more just and racially equitable tax system. And one of the primary ways we do that is by supporting the country's VITA programs, everywhere from funding to helping reduce administrative barriers for both them and their clients. I'll be talking a little bit more about that in a little bit.
Great. Well, thanks everyone, and thanks JC for highlighting Graham. I know he wasn't listed here, but I'm glad he got to say a few words. And Graham, we're glad you're here because Prosperity Now is a great partner on not just tax assistance, but also other financial empowerment issues for community action. So thanks so much for being here. Another note, just put your comments or questions in the chat, and we'll try to get to them at the end. And with that, I will turn it over to Irene.
Great, thank you. Oh, wait, I think we have a poll first. Who's there we go. So this will give us a little bit of a sense of who you are and how much you know about tax stuff. So I think if you go ahead and answer the poll, we will see the results in just a few seconds. I like option F. What's VITA? A nice way to capture people new to the field. All right, should we close the poll? Ah, great. Okay, so we've got people doing outreach, promoting VITA and refunds. Some people actually hosting a site. That's great. Excellent. This is a nice mix of folks here. Okay, so let's jump in. We'll try to make this useful to everyone. So I'm gonna do a little bit to set the stage for why this is important. Now, I think a lot of you, based on that poll, know that, but one of the things I'll be doing is sharing some data to help make the case that even if you already have been convinced, you may be able to use in working with other partners and whatnot. And so, of course, before I start, being a government employee, I do have to do the standard disclaimer. I'm not giving you legal interpretation, guidance, or advice, and we're not endorsing any of the third-party resources that we mentioned. So next slide. So to set the stage, tax time is a really important time for everyone, right? We all got to do this basically, or almost everyone does. And for many residents, especially low-income residents in your community, it can be one of the largest single payments that they receive all year. The average tax refund is about $2,800 across all taxpayers, but earned income tax credit, which can be combined with other things as well, the average is $2,000, and you can have additional over withholding in a refund as well. But the maximum credit can be as high as over $7,000. So if you're a low-income working family with kids who gets the EITC and you're making $20,000, $30,000 a year, this could be a really big chunk of money for you to help pay bills, support your family, do all the things that you need to do. So it's an important time. Next slide. And then, as you know, EITC and child tax credit, and Ryan kind of referenced this earlier, they are really important anti-poverty programs. They're tax credits. The EITC is refundable, meaning you get the money back even if you have no tax liability. That makes it very valuable. It's only for folks who are working, and primarily for folks who have kids. So it's really a target population I think we all care about, especially community action agencies. As of a few years ago, I just haven't seen updated numbers, but I'm sure it's about the same. or more, the EITC lifted 5.6 million people out of poverty, including 3 million children. Importantly, though, not all eligible taxpayers claim the EITC. Again, probably something you know about, that a lot of effort to do outreach. And even though I think there's a fair amount of awareness about the EITC, there are always new people becoming eligible, right? They have a baby, they take in a relative's child and become that person becomes a dependent. Their income drops, and so there's always churn and always a need to continue to do outreach and let people know about this credit. The IRS estimates that about 20% of eligible taxpayers, well, but first of all, about 20% of all taxpayers get the EITC. That's a lot, 1 out of 5. And about 20% of eligible taxpayers, that's just an estimate, don't receive the tax credit. So there's your population that we want to reach through outreach. So we did actually, on the next slide, you'll see this very pretty blue chart. And this, we just took all the states. There's this variation between states on how many eligible taxpayers are receiving or not receiving the EITC. And so this is arranged by, the highest rate of claim in Rhode Island, lowest, it's on the upper left, lowest is Alaska on the lower right. And so, find your state, and now again, it's an estimate, but approximately how many people are not claiming the credit. That's a real target population for outreach around EITC. But the other part of this is, and Ryan really set this up nicely, is once you know about the credit, you got to claim it. And most people want to e-file. They want to file their taxes and get it as quickly as possible. And in order to e-file, you can't do that directly with the IRS at this point. So you have to go through either buying software or going to an online service or a paid tax preparer, a commercial tax preparer. And when you do that, you then may be sold other products. And for the population we care about, like, we don't really want them having to pay a whole lot to get their refund, right? We want that money in their pockets. So because we regulate products, one of the things we really pay attention to is products. And so one of the products, and here we go to the next slide, just to set the stage again, is refund anticipation checks and other refund transfer products. And what these are is, if you can't afford or aren't able to or don't want to, can't afford to pay the fee for tax preparation and e-filing out of pocket, you can pay it out of your refund by getting one of these racks. And so the money comes actually to a short-term bank account. Some of it goes to pay your fees, and then the rest goes to you. But of course, anytime you sign up for things like this, there's potential for issues, and it does cost some money. Again, there's often other fees in addition to the $30 to $50. So we're really interested in this product. Do people understand they're getting it? Is it providing value to them? There are also refund advances. There's other products. We're going to focus in just on racks today because they're fairly common. So we did a data request to the IRS to get more information on racks. So on the next slide, I'm going to show you some data. So we asked for, this is for tax year 2020. So when you filed in 2021, there's a lag that you can't get like last year's tax data. So sorry, it's a couple years old, but this is the most recent we could get. So we asked for the total number of returns filed. So this is a real number. I mean, it's obviously rounded, but there were 164 million tax returns filed in 2020. About half of them had a paid preparer's signature. Now that's an undercount because not every preparer signs. If you go into a paid preparer, they're supposed to, they don't always do it. But say a minimum of half of people paid for preparation services. And about 13% of those filers used a rack. So that's 22 million people. But now we're going to drill down by income again, because I know you and I are concerned really with lower income populations. We did break it down between taxpayers under 60,000 income, and that's because that's approximately, it's roundly close to EITC upper eligibility, and also roundly close to the amount of income. If you have under that, you can get free tax preparation through several methods. So we asked for that cutoff. So there now it's 106 million returns in 2020 of, again, about half used preparers. But in this case, it rises to 17% or 18 million people who used racks. So you've got higher rack usage. Now we're going to drill down one level more. We asked for people who actually claimed the EITC. So not that 20% who didn't claim it, but the people who actually got the EITC in 2020, 25 million. In that case, still about half used paid preparers, but the rack number has bumped up to 8.5 million. Well, the number is lower, but the percentage is now 33%. So a third of all EITC claimants, low-income working families with children, are paying for RACs. And again, there may be other fees and services in addition to that. So let's take a look at some geographical. Actually, no, first we're going to do the numbers. So how much is that costing people? Well, this the numbers of taxpayers are actual. We're going to use an estimate for tax preparation fee and RAC fee. For all taxpayers, about $19 billion is going to pay for RACs and tax prep. Again, could be higher if people are paying more, other forms, but just say approximately just under 20 billion. That's a lot of money. But you know what we're going to do next? We're going to drill down. Although I think we may have a map first. Yes, first we have a map. So we did get this data by state. And so again, since all of you are representing local places, we don't have it sub-state, but there's other sources of data that can provide that. This map, in this case, green, darker green is good, but this is, now we're looking just at 60,000 or less. So again, kind of population we care about. And here you can see there's quite a bit of variation in the number of percentage of folks who use paid preparers. We don't completely understand some of this variation, but you know, about 60% of folks use paid preparers in California, lower percentage in some other states, but still, as you can see, it's, you know, it's still a substantial number of taxpayers who are using paid preparers. But again, you know, we're going to dive deeper. So next, we're going to look at, again, the population we care even more about, which is EITC claimants. So again, even lower income with kids who are receiving the credit. Again, that was 13 million people we said earlier. Oh, ignore the words get banked. That is a typo. A cut and paste error. Here, if you do all the numbers, the same kind of thing, how much people paying for tax preparation, what is the RAC? So for EITC claimants who are getting a refund anticipation check, that is costing about $2.7 billion for, again, families we care about. That's money that is not going into their pockets in your communities that could be used to pay for expenses and bills and savings and whatever else that folks want to do with it. So obviously this is kind of the target population. And of course I have a map. So here again, this is again, EITC filers using paid preparers and using RACs. And here darker red is bad. So this pattern looks more typical to poverty statistics, you know, more across the deep South. But again, you can see that a whole lot of people in your state, more in some states than others, but in your state are paying these fees to get their refund. Now, it's not always a bad thing to pay a preparer or to use a RAC, but I think for this population, we certainly would prefer them not to have to pay. And there are alternatives. There are ways to get your taxes done for free. Really, for about 60 to 70% of the American population does have access to free tax preparation software, at least. And in some cases, actually getting their taxes done. People just don't know about it. So that's what we will turn to next. But just one final thing, there is also data at a more localized level, not the exact same data that I showed you, but a number of other similar things that you can find for your community. So I don't write this down, we'll send you the PowerPoint, but you can go to the IRS website and actually search for data on your community. Again, all of this is meant to help make the case for community action agencies to work on this, but more importantly, to get other partners to understand why it's valuable for you all to work on it. So with that, I believe I'm going to turn it over to JC.
Thank you, everyone. And I'm really excited to talk about free tax assistance. And so we want to talk about IRS-certified free tax assistance. This is mostly you're talking about the VITA and the AARP Foundation Tax Aid programs for your consumers. Really doesn't matter which one you're referring to. It really feels the same to them. Same high quality standards, same basically same types of returns they'll prepare. There were about we're expecting about 3 million VITA returns to be prepared this year, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. That's because we're getting more volunteers from when this data is from, which is again 2021, and more sites. What we don't expect to change much at all is the accuracy rate. VITA is highly accurate. We are at a 96 percent accuracy rate. That's the way it's been for several years now, up in the high 90s in terms of, and this is done by IRS going out and reviewing actual returns. Next slide, please. We want you to really focus on these free assistance because, one, it saves people money, which means there's more money in their pockets for what they need. There's more money in your community to power the local economy. The other reason is VITA gets it right. This high quality service is basically unsurpassed for the quality of tax assistance you're going to get from your VITA sites. Finally, IRS reaches people who cannot afford, or VITA serves people who cannot afford to pay. So I'm not even talking about people who can afford to get a rack. I'm saying like people who are who like are self-employed, do Uber or Instacart or have income like that. They have no withholding. They're probably not getting a refund. A lot of times VITA and AARP tax aids serve as the preparer of last resort for these people. So it's really important that we get the word out that this service is around. Next slide, please. Next, it's really easy to find the local VITA sites and the local AARP tax aid sites. You could go to irs.gov. You can Google VITA, and it should say free tax return preparation for qualifying taxpayers in your search. And you could just go to this page and look up the local sites. Next slide, please. The taxpayer is just going to be able to plug in their zip code, find the local VITA sites, see what their hours are. They can do the same thing with the AARP's tool, see where the sites are there. So it's a great, it's really easy to get people to your local sites. Next slide, please. Oh, we jumped 2, I think. Yeah. If there's not a local VITA, guess what? Anywhere, anybody who can get on the internet can go to get your refund. They can upload their information to a local VITA site where it is prepared by an IRS-certified volunteer. So anywhere in the country, you can send people to get your refund. They can get their taxes done for free. Next slide. We have another option. Anywhere in the country, you can use myfreetaxes.com to prepare your return. So self-prepared return with the benefit of having IRS-certified volunteers available to answer questions, help the person prepare their own return. So they might be doing it by a chat. They might be doing a phone call into assistance. Sometimes they're just doing an email exchange to get their questions answered, file their return. Next slide, please. Right now is really a great time to start getting the word out because the site's just opened. By the time you start getting the word out, pass it around to, your frontline staff, use this nice flyer that the CFPB has created just to like look up all the sites. Things will be like that early rush will have dissipated a little bit. We're going to be able to serve more people out of the VITA sites. So this tool is just a very simple flyer. It also has a little QR code. If you use your phone on the QR code, it should pull up the flyer, and then the links are live and you can go right to the service you want. But this is really handy just to have, sitting up at the desk, available on, you could have these links available on your intranet. So, frontline staff can give people referrals to free tax assistance wherever they need to go. Next slide, please. Now, we also have these nice, CFPB's created some of these nice videos to, one, help the service providers, kind of your frontline staff, know where they can do referrals, kind of a step-by-step instructions. We also have 2 that are kind of directed towards consumers. So if they need to, You know, if they need to get to the online assistance, you got a video for that. If they want to like look up their local community sites, we got a video for that. It's all on YouTube. It's all easy to access. Next slide, please. Finally, we got some resources on cfpb.gov. You know, this is our guide for getting guide for filing your taxes in 2024 is right up on the website. That's a very popular site. If you scroll down, you're going to find all these like ways of getting to free tax assistance that I've already talked about today. We also have like a social media messaging calendar, so you can like send messages out if you use X or Facebook or whatever, just to kind of send messages to people about filing that are kind of timely. And finally, we have a blog post which you could use to do your local blog post, or you might use it for a newsletter. So you just have the text already written, and all you have to do is use it and go. You can modify it the way you need to. Next slide, please. Another great resource for getting word out about the Earned Income Tax Credit is the IRS EITC Central. I know the IRS had EITC Awareness Day last Friday, I believe. But for VITA folks and for community action agencies, every day is EITC Awareness Day. So this is a great resource for information. Next slide. Another great source for kind of easy to understand education information is the Get It Back campaign, which is taxoutreach.org. If you're wanting to get the word out about EITC or other things related to tax credits and working people, this is a great resource. And next slide, please. One of the things we really encourage is direct deposit, and some people don't have bank accounts. A great resource to let people know where to get a bank account and what's available in their areas, just to go to fdic.gov/get banked. There's outreach materials about opening bank accounts, and there's also listings of where they can get a bank account in their community. Next slide, please. And another resource that we want to highlight is the Taxpayer Opportunity Network, which is provided by Prosperity Now. The link here, once you get the slide deck, is live. It'll get you to Prosperity Now and the Taxpayer Opportunity Network. And I'm going to let Graham talk about that for a minute.
Sure thing. So thanks so much, JC. I appreciate the introduction, and all those resources are amazing and are part of, and I think every single one of the organizations that put together those resources are some of our national partners, the Taxpayer Opportunity Network. So what you can find here on our website is a variety of tools geared towards VITA providers, but also if you're funding a VITA provider, if you're just supporting them, even if you just want to have an EITC Awareness Day event yourself, we also put out an EITC Awareness Day toolkit. So if you sign up for the Taxpayer Opportunity Network, you're going to automatically get a bi-monthly newsletter about what's going on in the free tax prep space, as well as the federal and more state and local tax policy spaces. One of the things I work on besides VITA is our state and local tax policy, including working with some of our Taxpayer Opportunity Network free tax prep providers to find alternative sources of funding besides just VITA funds, because something a lot of people don't know is that most VITA organizations actually aren't even funded by the, or most sites aren't even funded by the IRS. And those that are receive only about $45 million every year. And if you think about it, $45 million is a lot of money to any single organization, at least the kind of organizations I work for. And but it's not in the grand scheme of things a large amount of money. So one of the things we work with, and one of the things we worked with a group actually on last Friday on EITC Awareness Day. I was in Dallas, Fort Worth, and we used the EITC Awareness Day to actually advocate to their county government for VITA funding from those from their local county government, so that they could support more free tax prep. Because I think one of the things we've learned over the years is that one of the best ways to increase EITC participation is just to get someone to do get their taxes done. There's not a lot of hard research on what moves the needle go up and down in terms of EITC participation, but the one systemic academic research that I've read has been that someone is more likely to get EITC if they filed the year before and they got a refund the year before. So the best way we can work on that is to get people to sit down and get their taxes done, which is why we look for ways to get VITAs every bit of money that they can. So we send out bi-monthly newsletters. Those newsletters will have a roundup of what's going on in the VITA TCE world, updates from TaxSlayer, which is the software that's provided by the by SPEC, which is the IRS office that helps organize the VITA and TCE programs. And we also work with SPEC on a weekly basis, a daily basis, to help troubleshoot the issues that pop up. I think just today I was working on getting the certification site that they use, that VITA volunteers use, to get that fixed through our listserv, which is another resource that we have. So I think whether you're providing VITA services or you're just someone who's supporting VITA, please join the Taxpayer Opportunity Network. It's the best way to get in touch and stay in touch with your local free tax prep providers. I'll make sure that my email address is put in the chat. I can also connect anyone in the audience who's not connected with their local VITA provider or TCE provider, or even if they just want to get in contact with Get Your Refund. I can make sure that one of my jobs is to make sure that we get you put in touch, connect people with those local VITA organizations. So that's what the Taxpayer Opportunity Network is. Like I said, too, we also work on federal and local, state and local policy issues. So if anyone in the audience is working on a state EITC expansion or a state child tax credit expansion, or even a local county property tax relief or foreclosure prevention program that deals with property taxes of any kind, we're all about it, and we're here to help. So please feel free to reach out. I'm going to leave my contact information in the chat, and I invite everyone and anyone to send me an email. Thanks.
Thank you, Graham, and particularly thank you for Graham is doing this in a power outage, so I think kudos for being able to join us and persevere. And next slide, I think I'm introducing C. Right. And I think I've had the pleasure of working with C and Louisville on some of the tax time initiative for the CFPB, and they are just what they're doing in Louisville is really interesting, and they're great organizations. So with that, please take it away, C.
Thank you so much, JC. Can we move to the next slide? Perfect. So thank you. I am C. Garrison. So I work within our Office of Financial Empowerment, which is a division of Resilience and Community Services. And I mentioned we are Jefferson County in Kentucky. We are the local community action agency for the city county government. And so A couple of things that I'm going to talk about today that are sort of our three pieces intertwined into our tax and financial empowerment work are the Louisville Asset Building Coalition. So they are a nonprofit that's supported under our office. They're the ones that actually administer the VITA project. They're the ones hiring or that are training and onboarding volunteers and trying to get all the sites up and running year round. And so then we also have the Financial Empowerment Center, which is an initiative within the city government that provides free financial counseling to all of our residents. That's a replication initiative that we're a part of along with 49 other cities in the country. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And the final piece is our Bank on Louisville piece. So Bank On is a national movement. We have had our Bank On initiative in Louisville for 13 years, going on 14 years really soon. So a long running initiative to try to help people get connected to bank accounts, mainstream bank accounts, FDIC insured accounts, so that they're utilizing products that protect their money while also still giving them the freedom to do things like online banking or even access to debit cards without fees and those sorts of things. So next slide, please. I wanted to talk first just about our Tax Time Connect initiative. So this is a part of, we received a grant to work on connecting banking with tax time. And this grant allowed for our Louisville Asset Building Coalition to hire a financial advocate. And so this individual's sole role was to go out to the tax sites, talk with folks about their banking situation. Are they banked? If they're not banked, is there a reason why they're not banked? Kind of having and initiating those conversations with folks. And in instances where people then decided maybe they wanted to open an account, they were connected with either some online account opening, on-site account opening at some of the VITA sites, and then actually physically going with the person to a bank branch to help them open an account if that's the level of engagement that was required to help them feel comfortable. And so it wasn't just about opening the accounts and making sure people are getting their refunds in the accounts, but then making sure that the ongoing they're still able to use those accounts and still feel comfortable with that. And so we feel very fortunate that after we did this pilot project a few years ago, we had the opportunity to keep on the financial advocate with our VITA team. And she is phenomenal. I hope she never goes anywhere. If she does, no, she didn't. We're not accepting it. But she's amazing at sort of having conversations and connecting folks. And so if you go to the next slide. I wanted to just kind of talk a little bit about when we're talking about tax time and getting people connected to VITA resources, like when is the right time to do that? And the answer for me is all year long. We can't just wait until December or January and say, hey, taxes are coming up. Because, you know, every time I get my W-2 in the mail every year, my first sort of reaction to that is like, more stuff to do, you know, added on top of all the other stuff that I have to do. So I just, we try to talk about our VITA resources here all year round. And one of the ways in which we do that, so we have a project with the local grocery chain Kroger, where we're going out to different Kroger stores, to their mobile markets, talking to individuals about their financial situation. How are they paying for their groceries? Are they using SNAP benefits? Are they paying with cash? Are they struggling with transportation to get to a grocery store? Are they on a limited income? All these sorts of questions. And so we like to ask all of those questions, but I bring this up because we have just a brief 6-question financial health assessment that we bring to those engagements, and we've started using them at a lot of our outreach events because it's a really telling tool. So we ask people, are you banked? Are you using a traditional account? Are you using something like Chime or Cash App? Those sorts of products that maybe have a debit card associated with them. Are people using a pay card, so they're getting a debit express card if they're on Social Security or something like that? Or are they using no account at all? Once we ask people that question, then we just ask them, are you satisfied with that? Is it working for you? And if they say yes, we're not going to continue to sort of push them, but we want to know if there's something that could change about that. Let's talk about it. The next thing is, do you file taxes? Are you using a paid service? Are you using a free filing service? Are you doing self-file? Are you asking someone in your family who to file your taxes? Or maybe you're someone that does not file taxes. And this question is important for us because, one, we want to make sure that we're directing people to VITA, but also we run across sometimes folks who haven't filed taxes in several years. And so our VITA team is able to, in the off season, help them get caught up on those back taxes that they haven't filed in the past couple of years. And then just questions about, do they know their credit score or how they're feeling about it? Do they have enough money to pay their monthly expenses without having to borrow money, use credit, without creating stress or strain on their financial situation? And then asking, do you have any money saved for an emergency? And here we have the answer, yes, over 400 or yes, under 400. And that $400 piece is really important because we know that the vast majority of the families that we're working with could not afford an unexpected $400 expense without having to put some strain on their financial situation or borrow for that. And then you'll also see down there in the savings, it asks, no, I'm worried about my benefits. So we have a partnership with the National Disability Institute where we provide enhanced financial counseling for individuals who are on SSI or SSDI to help them understand their benefits, help them understand like what they can save, what is an asset, what isn't an asset, if they're wanting to save and needing a low barrier option to that, talking about the ABLE accounts, which if you don't know a whole lot about ABLE accounts, I really encourage you Google for your specific state what the ABLE process looks like there. Those accounts are really amazing for individuals worried about asset limitations. And so, yeah, we provide this financial health assessment all the time. We're talking about taxes and other financial situations for individuals all the time. And so the next slide, thank you. I just wanted to talk about some tax integration strategies that we've used that might be helpful in some of your own community action programs. So we integrate our work talking about taxes and talking about finances into all sorts of different projects. Talking with our local small business development team. We have a small business tax professional that will provide some pro bono tax work for individuals when they're coming into VITA if they're income qualified. So we also try to link people to our financial education. That's sort of the front door, but it's not where we hope people land and leave. We hope they keep coming into more of our services, more personalized services. I'm checking the time. Yes, we're good on time. A couple of things that I like to talk about a lot is if you are an employee of a community action agency, if you're supervising employees who are eligible for your local VITA program, encourage them to get an appointment. We have a tax drop-off is a drop-off site that's for Metro employees who meet the income qualifications. So folks don't even have to leave their workplace to drop off their stuff. They can drop it off, come back, sign for their refund later. But this is an excellent opportunity to, if you're an HR person or know an HR person, find out about some sort of VITA. If you don't have VITA, already interacting with you, find out if there's a way that you can put that in your employee benefits book and partner with your local VITA agency to make that happen. Because the best way to be advocates for the service is to know exactly what it's like to go through the service. I love VITA. I use it every year. I'll continue to use it as long as they let me. So that's one piece. The other piece is financial counseling. So as I mentioned, I manage our financial empowerment center. There's 50 municipalities across the US who have a financial empowerment center. And I will go ahead and put this. I just put the link in the chat. If you scroll down, you can see all of the cities that are engaged, either already providing services or they're in the planning process. And so the good thing about financial counseling, people can sit down with an FEC provider. There's no income limitations to financial counseling, but people can sit down, talk about banking, budgeting, credit, debt, savings, get a credit counseling session, pull their credit, take a look at it, those sorts of things. And then they're also able to, we partner directly, our agency that provides the financial counseling is also a VITA site. And so we set it up so that folks know you come to the same site, you can get the same service. You don't have to make multiple appointments and go multiple places. It's all here. And so that's another thing that we like to do as well, that when people are coming in for LIHEAP appointments, when folks are trying to come in to talk about emergency rental assistance and those sorts of things, we have a financial counselor on staff at those locations that will often go out and have conversations with people while they're waiting, hand out information. If people are interested, maybe they're waiting on their LIHEAP appointment and they have 15 minutes, like, let's talk and see if maybe you might want to sign up for financial counseling, or maybe you're interested in a VITA appointment, those sorts of things. If you don't have a financial counseling initiative in your area or close to your area, they're always recruiting. Reach out to your local governments to see about that as an opportunity. If not, there's always consumer credit counseling services that cover the entire country. If folks are needing a little bit more in-depth financial counseling, that's always an option. But those are ways to kind of integrate into other financial empowerment work. We talk about it in all of our financial classes. We really try to make sure that we're getting the word out about VITA everywhere. The other thing is that if you have people that are coming in for longer term case management, we for some of our emergency rental assistance folks, they have to complete a certain number of financial education or financial counseling engagements in order to receive program credit, and they can actually use a VITA appointment to satisfy one of those credits. So we know that if people engage in financial services, it creates what's called the super vitamin effect, which increases their likelihood of having outcomes overall. And so that is super important, I think, for their existing services that they might be receiving for you. If they engage in a financial service like VITA, it provides an opportunity for them to just do better overall. And then the final thing is be a resource to VITA. So if you have volunteers that are coming in that are looking for additional volunteer opportunities, they can be VITA volunteers. You don't have to have, you know, an accounting background or something like that to be a VITA volunteer. It's all trained on site. Help them with social media. They can always use it. Most VITA teams are very small. So help them with social media, with outreach, help them be able to provide a resource back to you if people are asking questions. So we get into our VITA volunteer training and talk to them about the services that we offer so that they can sort of provide that as a resource as they're talking to folks. And then The other thing that I'll say is just to embed these financial conversations into other service delivery models. So just because you're not directly talking about someone's financial situation doesn't mean that you can't sneak some of those financial health assessment questions from the previous slide in there, or find some way to sort of bundle that into the conversations that you are having with people. Because the more we talk about it, the more normalized it is, the more people are willing to initiate financial conversations. And if you ever have questions about any of these things, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat and make sure that you all have that. But yeah, if you're ever curious about this or wanting to bounce ideas off, I'm happy to provide a resource for that. And that's all I got for you. Thank you, everyone.
I'm not seeing any questions in the chat or in the Q&A, so I'm just going to move on to concluding thoughts, and I think hand it over back to JC.
Okay, can we go to the next slide? And here's a couple things about getting more involved. You can promote VITA. You can start your own VITA site. You can support the local collaborations. And you can get engaged with more CFPB resources. I think next slide. Yes. Now, getting involved, promoting the VITA opportunity is really easy because you can just send people to IRS.gov. If you don't know who the person is in your community running a VITA site, training VITA, you just send them to the IRS.gov, look up the volunteer opportunity, partner opportunities, and they can fill out this information. It'll get sent to their VITA sites. If you are a VITA site, please remember to reach out to your spec relationship manager periodically. Make sure you're getting these for people who've signed up. Next slide. Oh, also, if you want to be a VITA partner, you can fill that same piece out, that same volunteer piece. It'll let you sign up that says my organization wants to be involved. So if you want your organization to be involved, spec will reach back out to you, so you can be a part of that. Next slide, please. And then exploring being a partner. Here's more information about being a partner on irs.gov, including resources, including ordering materials, the whole 9 yards. And while Graham's on, I'm going to mention, yeah, a lot of the VITA sites aren't training right now, but Prosperity Now has the VITA Train website, so people can go there and train. They can do Link and Learn. If you certify through the IRS Link and Learn, the VITA sites are going to be happy to get you. Next slide. This is handy from Get It Back campaign. This is where you can find your local IRS territory managers. So if you don't know how to find your local VITA sites or who's involved, look this up. It'll give you the contact information to IRS territory managers. They should know all the VITA sites in your community. And I think that's it. Next slide. Yeah. Now I'll turn it back over to Mary Beth.
I can pick up here. Thanks, JC. Well, I just want to say we're coming up on time, but I just want to say thank you to all of our presenters. All of this information is so crucial, and all of these resources and slides are going to be sent out to everybody after the webinar, along with a recording. All of our contact information is there, and I know a couple folks also put it in the chat, but I'll put mine there as well if you have questions about how to get more involved or other resources, outreach. Please let me know. The National Community Action Partnership is always here to provide resources, be helpful. And I just want to sort of like in closing, pick up on a thread that kind of went through all of these, which is that sort of in the vein of not like you don't need it's like every day is EITC day. But I think you don't need an excuse to do financial empowerment outreach, right? It's not just for one day. It's not just during tax time. People come in for other things. You know, that's a great time to bring up these issues like C was speaking about, and she made such an amazing point about that. So with that, I will close this out. Please feel free to get in touch with us if you have any questions. Thank you again to all of our panelists, and we'll see you all in the next webinar.